Hi there. This is Geeks Assembled, Audioheads, and talking about the adventure, the Third Doctor adventure, played by Chi Lore, and Katie reprising or continuing on with Joe Grant and Ian McNeice actually playing, carrying on with his, or KBOing, as he says, um, with as Winston Churchill in the Operation Hellfire. Operation Hellfire is a story that takes the Third Doctor on an actual historical, and he's taken there by the Time Lords again. There's a Time Lady who shows up and is like, um, "We need this amulet," and so that's what it all entails. I have some people here who want to review with me. Um, let's start off with Jake. What's your take on the Operation Hellfire, mate?
Well, straight off the bat, I think it's the best out of the two stories in the set. Like I've said in previous podcasts for movies and stuff, I love stories set in World War II with Churchill and everything. That's probably why I really enjoyed this story. And I think this story was such a good story for Jo, because she had so much to do in this story, going off and doing her own thing. And I thought it really brought it nice together. It's nice to have him being sent on a mission by the Time Lords, because it fits well within that era. And what was I going to say? And yeah, it's nice, the amulet stuff and all that, but it would have been alright if it was just a pure historical, to be honest. I'm sure they could have worked their way around it, but I kind of see why they did it.
Yeah, they kind of needed something a little bigger. Let's see. Let's bebop over to Tottenham. What's up with you, Philip? What do you think of this Operation Hellfire?
Well, afternoon, Susan, or evening, as it may seem. Yeah, this story, I don't know. I'm not a fan of pure historicals because I tend to get very bored quickly with them because it's all politically ramifications, and then there's all sorts of. But this is like Hellfire thing. So this is kind of we tackled Hellfire clubs many times in Doctor Who, and this one is no different from the others. I do like the idea that the Time Lady was a bit frosty, and she wants the amulet brought to her, and at the end of the story, the Doctor decides, you're not getting it. I'm sending it somewhere else, and it's kept in someone's sock drawer. So that's good. The story itself, though, the premise of the story, it didn't seem every time they wanted to try and sacrifice somebody, it never got there. And then I realised why, because they're waiting for this guy. I can't remember his name for the life of me, and it turns out that he didn't even exist. It was just a fabrication by the War Office just to blindside the opposition, and so I felt that was a bit of a long-winded way of getting around something or another. Jo, as Jake said, Jo Grant had a lot to do with this, and she stood out quite well. I would have liked a bit more of Churchill, because he just seemed to be in there for a little bit and then bugger off for a little while. As they say, keep buggering off.
Says.
Yeah, and I did like the idea of the guy that they were time traveling back to in his younger years, that he was just as adept with Venusia Aikido with the Doctor, and it turns out the Doctor taught him that after the situation that they were having. So that was quite nice. The demon thing was a bit out of the words, was a bit weird. I'm not quite understanding I don't really understand where that kind of what happened to that in the first place and where it sort of ended on that. In a way, basically in a nutshell, the story was a bit confusing for me. It wasn't that entertaining, but it is John Pertwee and it is Doctor
Who. Okay, let's slip to Texas and get your take on this, Tim.
Well, I agree with everybody. I thought it was great. I thought it was really clever, and I think it was great that you one time finally have a pure historical with the Third Doctor. He didn't really have any like that on TV. And I think they did a good job of showing what was like during wartime. That was something Joe had to deal with, because at first she's like, "Oh, I've read so much about this, but I didn't really think I'd ever see it," you know. And hanging out with Churchill and all that stuff was pretty cool for her. I thought it was really cool how they threw in this occult element. I mean, for these traitors, these people, and they kept it hid for a while, but I mean, until the woman started beating up the third doctor in the car. That was pretty cool. I just thought I thought it was really cleverly done too. They managed to borrow bits from other stories of the time and put them together in a new and interesting way, like having a time lady show up and give him a mission to go on. So obviously this is before he's gotten his freedom back, and that was an interesting way to do it. And the true thing is, I think the amulet or the necklace or whatever, it's a MacGuffin anyway, because it never gets used in any purpose. Like Philip said, it ends up in the guy's sock drawer and it stays there forever. So I thought that was all pretty clever. I mean, it ends up not meaning anything to the story, and we wonder what the Time Lords want with it anyway. They may come around back to this at some point, you'd think, but we'll have to wait and see. I thought it was very enjoyable.
Yeah, I see your point about it being a MacGuffin. That's really true. Yeah, do you think that they'd ever bring it back to, like burn down the house and then?
Well, it depends on what the Time Lords wanted it for. They never really explained. It might be something very powerful, but it's cool how it really has nothing to do with the story. It ends up just being a MacGuffin, and like I said, they may be setting something up for later, or they can always come back around to it if they want to do some sort of sequel. But not necessarily a World War II sequel, just something to do with that MacGuffin.
Yeah.
Can I just interject? Is it right that it was stolen from Gallifrey in the first place? Because she says it was stolen from the halls of the Time Lords. So it was taken from Gallifrey. So who stole it from Gallifrey? Was it the Master? And
Probably the Master.
Yeah.
Or somebody.
Or the monk.
Oh yeah, or any Time Lord of that matter. So yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They could easily do some sort of prequel or sequel to this story because it was so unimportant. It ended up being so unimportant in this story, but it's still there. So I mean, it's cool that I really like the way they met the guy in the present day and then went back and worked with him in the past. So that was pretty clever as well. Very, very, very well written story.
Yeah, I agree. And Bebop back to the UK, and Lee, what's your take on this?
Well, the amulet thing, yeah, they most probably will come back to it, like they did with the Metebelis 3 crystal in the TV series. So I think they are going to go down that route. It could be 4 stories from this. You don't know, in another box set somewhere. But yeah, as it's been said, we didn't used to get historical stories for the Third Doctor. It was always, on Earth, monsters, or it was sent away into space, monsters. And there's no monsters. It's the Nazis, it's the spies, and the devil worshippers sort of thing. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah, Ian McNeice isn't in this much as Churchill. He recorded his parts separately. I think he must have recorded them when he was recording something else, and maybe this is why he only had a small part in the story.
He did do a whole box set called the Churchill Years.
Yeah, so they must have grabbed hold of him at some point to record just some bits. Yeah, it was enjoyable. It was something different for the Third Doctor. I agree. Kitty Manning had a lot to do in this. Tim Trelaw, brilliant as always. And he did feel like a fish out of water. He did in this story because I wasn't used to listening or seeing a Third Doctor story like this, and it made a change. It was quite good. As you say, you don't see any Draconians in this. You don't see any Ogrons. It's mainly historical World War II, and it's the ins and outs, what's going on in the War Office, and finding out who's behind all the espionage, which was quite good. I liked it. It was like a spy thriller. So yeah,
but
I enjoyed it.
Nazis are monsters enough, aren't they? So
yeah. Human monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I liked the fact that the humans were the monster. and it was written by a guy named Jonathan Barnes, who's apparently written a lot of Sherlock Holmes, and was apparently trying to write some sort of um, Irving. What's the guy's name? The guy who wrote the James Bond stuff. Ian Fleming. Thank you. It was he was apparently trying to write some of that because the lady Daisy Chapel became a traitor, and so that was really cool watching the doctor try to figure out and deal with this traitorous chick who was trying to poison people and trying to poison people anyway, trying to poison the people with the blimp, trying to poison people, in giving away food. Oh my gosh, all the things that are going on right now with people standing in food lines and stuff. It's really it really shows the whole experience of the Nazis. I don't sound really bored. I'm not really bored. I enjoyed this a lot. I really love Tim Treloar's Third Doctor take, and I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not saying and ah a lot. So there's a direction here that's really cool too, with that the doctor being brilliant, but all these other people trying to outthink him too, and that was challenging to listen to. So that may have been the thing with this, and so. What are your favorite moments, fellows? Let's go backwards. Let's start with Lee.
I did like, because nobody's mentioned Terry Malloy. Terry Malloy as Lord Finch? I think his name was. Very sinister.
Yeah.
And the way
Sir Davenport Finch.
Yeah, the way he got rid of the servant because she found his shrine in the cellar or whatever it was. Yeah. A very, very eerie and sinister character. Also, the ending with the Doctor up against the villainess on a blimp, fighting on a blimp. That was brilliant. That was it was just so like Raiders of the Lost Ark. It was great. But I say it was just an enjoyable. And to be honest, if Churchill was in this more, I think it would have taken away from the story. I think the amount of time he was in this, it was just right. He got the Doctor out of the jail. He gave him the info about the mission and all like that. It would have taken it away. It would have spoilt it for me. So, but those were a few of my favourite moments. Over to you, Susan.
Okay. Then back down to Texas, please. What's your favorite moments in this?
Well, I like the whole thing. I agree with Lee, though. I think it was good just to have a cameo from Churchill, basically, because it just shows he's doing his job behind the scenes. But had it been like it would have changed the nature of the episode had it been more Churchill in it. It would have been a whole different story, I think. So I agree with Lee on that. I thought it was interesting. You had that one scene where Joe kind of tells the Doctor, "What if I don't stay around for much longer," or something like to the effect of, "Well, people change all the time, so what if I go, do my own thing," or something, which was odd, since this is really in series 9 and she's still got a whole year ahead of her. I mean, if you think about it, because he hasn't got the TARDIS back yet. So I mean, it's just interesting they had that little scene. It doesn't really predict or foretell anything. It's just kind of there. I mean, just them bantering. That's one of the good things about these sets, though. These sets, they really do a good job of making a lot of banter with Joe and the Third Doctor. I think that really of its time, that they usually get that pretty well done. So overall, I would just say it was a really good story, really well done. That managed to drag a lot of elements from other stories into it, which I thought was very effective. They did a really good job of juggling the different parts of the story.
All right, and then Philip.
Yeah, favorite parts. I like. There was one scene right at the end when the whole thing is finished, and Joe is with Churchill, and she goes, something to the thing of, oh, can I call you Winston? And he goes, no, you cannot. and I thought, wow, he'll let the Doctor call him Winston or Winnie, but he won't let Joe do it. The other clever thing is when Joe thinks on her feet, is quick on her thinking on her feet. When her and that guy, the guy, are trying to get into the house, and so she goes ahead and she pretends that she's an acolyte of that magician bloke that they're waiting for, and then she went away into it, and then throughout that bit in the cellar, she tried to prevent them from acting out their sacrifice on the Doctor because they're not ready yet and all that palaver. So I thought she was good in that part of it. That's very good. Other than that, everything else, as Tim says, was quite good. There's lots of good parts in it. So, you know, not a bad thing. There's not really a bad thing to it. Nothing stood out as being like rubbish or bad. It was all kind of worked together.
All right, Jake. Your favorite moments?
Yeah, well, I'm going to bring up something that we were saying earlier about him recording something at the same time. He recorded his lines for this the same day he did it for Subterfuge. It makes me think, and what Texas said about the Master and Susie bringing up the monk, they could easily link this with Subterfuge, like have it back to front sort of things, like have this set for Churchill before the event of Subterfuge, if that makes sense. But they could have even thrown it in that Churchill was a little bit bitter towards the Doctor in this story, and him not knowing why, if that makes sense. But my favourite bit in,
Very good.
And I love the mention, like, to the bowler hat Time Lords and stuff like that, because that's what that woman reminds me of. And also, I love the gothic, like, satanic elements of it. And Lee said, he thought he was going to struggle with a story like this. But I think a historical story like this really suits with the character of the Third Doctor, because he's so elegant and, like, kind of pompous. And that's what sort of most of the men were like in that era. So I think he quite fits in quite well. Anyway, and I think his story could only really fit a Doctor like him, this particular story. But yeah, I really did enjoy it. And yeah, I'd like a sequel. Perhaps I've got a gut feeling that it's going to be in this rumoured Third Doctor and Sarah box set.
Yeah, Sarah, I can't wait for what's her name, Miller, Sadie Miller, to reprise.
Can I just add something?
Recapture Sarah Jane Smith.
Yeah. Can I just add something?
Sure.
I kind of think they're trying to shoehorn Churchill, every Doctor going at the moment, because there's so many box sets with Churchill meeting this Doctor, that Doctor, and all the other. I'm wondering who's next is he going to run into? Who's next? Is it going to be the Charlton Doctor? Is it going to be Hartnell Doctor?
It's the River Song syndrome.
Well, it's the fact that there are some really sort of key people in British history, and Churchill's one. I mean, so.
But when we first saw him on television, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, when we first saw him on television, I mean, he'd already met several of them anyway, so this doesn't really contradict anything, and that's a good idea for him.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not really part of, like, River Song is really part of her whole life in a way. It's different. I mean, that's her whole mystery. But I mean, with him, it's just he's a straight figure, a real historical figure who's very strong and very much beloved for what he managed to accomplish in World War II. So I mean, for him to meet the Doctor is usually, he's never treated as like a secondary character. He's always treated like, oh, that guy. You know what I mean? So I mean, he's had his moments with Doctors, and I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't like him on occasion, just because.
Yeah, I do wish they continued the thing about the Churchill wanted to nick the Doctor's TARDIS and sort of like use it for his own ends.
The Churchill is not into stealing. He was into utilizing technology that was being developed for him. And
But
the
he had to
TARDIS
make some
wasn't
dubious
developed-
choices during the war that some people have said he shouldn't have done. I mean,
Right, but he didn't rip shit off. He was like a still point, and the whole rest of the conflict in World War II surrounded his still point, and that's just it was interesting. He made things happen that were glorious and terrible for the island, and so of course there's not going to be.
My point is, I could see him having a conflict with the Doctor at some point. Now, I don't know which one, but I'm just saying, like where the Doctor really gets on his nerves because the Doctor's trying to do the right thing, and he's saying, "Well, I know what I'm doing." On the other hand, the Doctor probably wouldn't want to interfere with history as it's written because he already knows the outcome. So
Yeah, because if you really mess with Churchill, perhaps all UK would fall. I don't know. That's a there you go. There's a challenge. So my favorite moments were the fighting where they're doing the fisticuffs, and he's like, "Oh, another person knows Venusian Aikido," and I mean, just that little bit. First of all, the soundscape was a great fight. And second of all, it was a cool like you've got power, and that's fun. And let's see, the other favorite moment of mine was them fighting on the blimp, on the dirigible. So that was also really cool. And I liked that the Doctor and sent Joe off with the wing commander. The wing commander was another cool character, sort of brigadier-esque, sort of, it kind of brought it into, gave it the flavor of the RAF, and a few of the people that I know who flew for the RAF in World War II. They were definitely different, and so, but they've long gone. I mean, they died probably 25 years ago. Anyway,
I thought he was a bit callous in the way he responded to the way when she fell to her death from the dirigible, and he's like, "Well, good night," or whatever he said. And I thought, "Wow, you're not very cut up about her falling to her death, man."
Well, Philip, she was a Nazi scum, really. So
yeah,
good for him.
still, all life is sacrosanct to the Doctor in some sense, and for him to be a bit blasé about it, it was like, wow.
Yeah, but you've got to realise this Doctor, the third Doctor, was more British Empire than any of the other Doctors.
Yeah.
if he's fighting somebody, he doesn't mind like really seriously maiming them or killing them with his, abilities.
Also, it made a change from the TV series what we get now. The use of the sonic screwdriver couldn't open that door.
Yes.
Guess it was bolted from the other side.
Yeah. that was
like the other day.
Anyway, open floor. Anybody have anything else to add to the discussion of Operation Hellfire?
I do. So now at the beginning when they meet that bloke who's older, I thought it was going to turn out to be a master reveal. There was something about the way he was talking. I thought he was going, "I am the master." I'm like, oh, of course
Yeah.
he was, right. And I really wish it was. And it could have been
They've got
a
too many now.
a Delgado recast. Let's not talk about that though. But yeah.
No, let's not talk about that.
Well, I can't wait to hear it. I mean, what do we know? It could be brilliant, right?
What? John?
After I've heard Culshaw's anally, I'm very worried.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's
He can't do that.
acceptable. So what do you guys think of the what do you guys think of Terry Malloy's
You know,
performance?
I didn't even know which character he was because sometimes I can recognise his voice sometimes. It's got a bit of a Scottish lilt to it. But I didn't even recognise him in any of the story. I didn't know who he was.
Well, it's Terry Malloy Scottish.
Yeah, I didn't recognize him either until I heard him in the credits, and I was like, oh, okay. I mean,
right.
he's always good.
I think he's Scottish because there's a time when he's at one of those conventions, he wears a kilt and all that, with that flipping teddy bear he keeps running around with. So,
Anything else, fellas?
Hopefully, I mean, from this, they may do another historical one for the third. I hope they do, because you need something like that.
yeah.
So
I have one, right?
wasn't Time Monster sort of historical, kind of?
Historical elements. It was
I guess if you believe in Atlantis, then yeah. But
yeah.
no, but yeah.
Right, there was one gripe with the story, the TARDIS. Right, if they decided they wanted to take away the knowledge of the TARDIS from the Doctor, why the hell do they keep bringing him, letting him use it left, right, and centre? You know, if they don't want him to use it, if you know what I mean. Why don't they just let him have knowledge of it and then ask him to go here and there and everywhere?
Because he wouldn't do it. They're using the fact that they've got him under their thumb right now in exile. That they can, if they want him to do something for them, they can make him do it. Because he wants nothing more than to get his TARDIS back, and so that's why he does these things. That this is like the third time he's had to do that for them, right? As far as he's concerned, and it's like, you know, that's what they got over him. They said, yeah, if you do this job, you know, maybe that's why finally after the three doctors let him have it back, because he said he grabbed them out of the fire. So.
Yep. All right.
And can I just point out Terry Malloy is from Tyneside.
Oh, okay. Well, that's near enough north for me. So
It's sort of the Geordie land.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, why don't we rate this thing and let Winston Churchill keep buggering on then.
Okay.
All right. So, Philip, since you were first, go for it.
I'm a bit like that with the story, but I'm going to give it at least an 8 because it is a new story with the third Doctor and Joe, and I can't berate them for that. They give us new things for him to do and situations for him to be in, so that's cool. An 8.
All right. And Tim?
I think I'm gonna have to give it a 10 because I can't find any fault with it at all, and it was surprisingly good, and it kept me interested the whole time. I never felt like, oh, this is lagging here or anything like that. One thing I forgot to mention though, guess who did the music for this? Nicholas Briggs.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard that.
I had no idea until they got to the credits. I was like, really? I didn't even know he did music. But there you go. It sounded very much like something you'd heard on TV at the time.
Did. That's true. And I really like Nicholas Briggs, so. And Terry Malloy. So there's that. And Lee, final sound score.
Very enjoyable, and it was a breath of fresh air to have something different for the third Doctor. No monsters, I would say. No space adventure. Just set back in time to find an item. I'll have to agree with Tim here because I can't fault it. I enjoyed it. So I'm giving it 10 pentagrams out of 10.
And Jake.
I like Lee said, and I really agree with him. It was a breath of fresh air to see Pertwee or the third Doctor in this sort of environment, this sort of set in this period. I'm going to give it a 9.
All right. Well, I'm going to give it 9.5 dirigibles fighting out of 10. And thanks for listening to this with me, and thanks for reviewing this with me. Shall we do a Fourth Doctor for next month? Is that what we're?
Next one's Callan, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah, I'm not
You
talking
meant
about.
Doctor Who week.
I meant for the Doctor Who one.
Oh yeah. If we're doing if it's the Fourth Doctor next time, yeah, it'll be a Fourth Doctor adventure.
Okay.
And probably a Masters one to fit in with Deadly Assassin.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we'll sort that out. Those are the two stipulations, but let's rejoin in a fortnight to do Callan then. And thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for subscribing to our channel, hitting the button, and thank you for supporting Big Finish through their audios. And
Love our Big Finish. Support them.
Really? And buy magazines and books and everything.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I was just mostly on about Big Finish because it we've got a pandemic on,
and they deserve the support they can get during this time.
Our artists, need it. And thanks for So subscribe, like, share, give us a comment below what you thought of Ian McNeice, what you thought of Terry Malloy, what you thought of Joe Grant. Are you glad that she is still so active and what stories would you like them to tell for the Third Doctor? And so all those things, comment below, and then join us on social media. And thank you very much for watching and spending a little time with us.
Thank you.
Bye.
No.